Welcome to Awakening Souls,
a spiritual podcast for the mystics, magical thinkers, sensitives, and spiritual seekers.
We are here to explore all things spiritual, from navigating your awakening, developing your psychic gifts, and so much more.
Together, with our combined experiences, we hope to help guide you on your path to reconnecting with your soul and the beautiful life that comes after.
So come join us on the magical journey of exploring your
Awakening Souls.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Awakening Souls podcast. We are so glad that you are back here, ready to listen and hopefully enjoy and get something out of our conversation. Today's topic is a really good one. It is all about the throat chakra. And in my experience, as I do many, many Reiki sessions, if any chakra is going to be closed, 9 times out of 10, it's the throat chakra. So we all thought that this would be like a really good one to dive into to explain what the throat chakra is, how it works, how it can work positively for you, and kind of what's the dark side of the throat chakra as well. So I hope you stick around and listen to our beautiful conversation. So, looking at all my beautiful friends that are here right now, how many of you have had trouble with your throat chakra? Just a little poll. Okay, all of us are raising our hand, myself included. So, we definitely have some good real life experience to share with you. And I think this is something that we are all still working on growing. It's not ever done, but that throat chakra, the more it grows, the better we can authentically live our lives. So, the inspiration for the throat chakra was a card that we pulled from the Healing Waters deck. And this is an oracle deck by Rebecca Candle. And the card is called the Sirens. Use your voice, expansion, and freedom. So, who has some struggles with the throat chakra and has something they might like to share?
My favorite part, one of my favorite parts of chakras is the physical disease that's connected to the chakras. And so I thought it would be interesting to go through some of the physical symptoms associated with an off-balance throat chakra. One of them being something that I've seen so much in people lately, myself included, tight shoulders. Isn't that interesting? Tight shoulders with the throat chakra. TMJ associated with that throat chakra. The throat chakra is so closely associated with the ears. So ear infections or sinus infections, hoarseness or sore throat, thyroid problems, which can be linked to like hormone imbalances, right? You know, those are some things that if you're experiencing any of those things, it could mean that your throat chakra is kind of crying out for some assistance. Do you guys ever struggle with any of those things?
I like all of the above.
Yeah.
Your thyroid, you don't. No, not the thyroid. No. Well, that I know of. I haven't had it checked, but
I think that's funny because I've been struggling with TMJ undiagnosed. I just diagnosed myself since I was probably 19 years old. And it would be so severe that my jaw would lock up and I would have to physically with my hands open up my jaw, massage my jawbone or the mandibular joint and maneuver my jaw around to get it back into place. I have problems with it constantly.
Yeah, I had my jaw lock in place for like 2 months straight. I had to drink through a straw. I could not get. I was prescribed muscle relaxers and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Do you look back at that time and make any connections about your throat chakra?
I graduated from high school and I just was flooded with all these childhood memories that were crappy. And I didn't seek help and I kind of held it in. And it was after that I started experiencing TMJ.
Wow.
And it lasted for like 2 years until I had my wisdom teeth pulled and then I was fine. Who knows? It could have been the wisdom teeth.
No. I mean, yes, it might have played a role, but
Yeah.
no.
Right.
You know what? It's funny that you bring up wisdom teeth. I've always had this wonder about wisdom teeth because throat chakra also has to do with our teeth. And I've always thought it was really strange that we have those teeth called the wisdom teeth pulled out. And it just makes me think of, like, if we study like different texts, like different old texts, and we consider like the Bible, in the beginning of the Bible, God speaks everything into existence. And so creation comes from spoken word. And so I think it's really, I don't know, I think it's interesting that we have that tooth pulled that's connected to the throat chakra and that's associated with wisdom. I don't know. It's always puzzled me.
Do you still have your wisdom teeth, Ashley?
No, I wish I did. I had them pulled, like, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I thought it was really crazy because when I had them pulled, I thought I would get my teeth at the end of it. And when I went to leave, I remember asking for my teeth. I was like, can I have my teeth? And they were like, no, you cannot. And I was like, oh, okay. Just, I don't know. Teeth hold a lot of DNA. There's something strange about that. There's something strange about that.
That's weird.
You guys ever thought about that before? The whole wisdom teeth thing?
And not until now.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that they were called wisdom teeth. It just, I knew they were called wisdom teeth, but the actual word wisdom didn't
dawn on you.
Yes.
The wisdom behind wisdom teeth.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, kind of a side tangent, but I don't know. That's just always been something that I think about.
Did you guys have your wisdom teeth pulled?
Yes.
I still have mine. I just got I went to the dentist and they told me that I would probably never need them pulled. Lucky. Intact forever.
Well, and I believe that if you have part of your body physically removed, you still have the energetic imprint and you can still access the energy needed from that body part.
Okay, so just to backtrack real quick, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the chakra system, we have 7 major energy vortexes in our body that go straight down the spinal column from the root all the way up to the crown of our head. And our throat chakra is just one of those energy systems or one of those energy vortexes that we have. And each chakra governs a specific part of our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our spiritual body. So when we're talking about the throat chakra today, we're going to be talking a little bit about all of those things that are entangled into the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is part of how you express your divine self. And we want that system to be open so we can express from all avenues of ourself, our most authentic self, and use it also to advocate for others. And so we're going to go through some of those, why we want it open, why the throat chakra might be closed, and a little bit more about that. So here, I did do a channel last night because I read some books about the throat. The throat chakra, to me, feels like the most complicated because it's so simple almost. Like the information that I have found is not really, ironically, not really expressive about how expressive the throat chakra can be, in my opinion. I feel like it's very simple, straight to the point. It's about self-expression. And I know there's so much more to it than that. So I did some channeling last night about the throat chakra. And what I received was that the throat was just such an important part of our ability to express our desires. It's an important part of how we hold power and influence in our lives, and an important part about how we make decisions and take action in our lives as well. So I think it's funny, Ashley, that you mentioned God speaking things into creation, because that's exactly what the throat chakra does. And as I was channeling, I was receiving these images of what happens when you speak things into existence, when you use your voice, whether that be in a positive way or in a negative way. It creates like these vibrations, these notes, you can think of them, that kind of go out and ripple into the universe. And they influence and affect the people around you. And then they're communicating with the ether. And it's like you're sending out this code into the world, and the world is kind of receiving this code and going, okay, we're going to send back the same code to Candace or to whoever is speaking these things into existence. Am I making sense?
So it's a tool for manifestation.
Yes, yes. So the sound holds vibration that holds a lot of impact. And it's like, just as your thoughts and your actions create this ripple effect in the energy and co-creating with the world, the sound of your voice does just the same. So the intentions and the vibrations within each of the signals that you're sending out through your voice into the universe, it creates those sound waves. So the sound waves transfer information to people, to things, to your environment, to just the ether in general. And those things are picked up as information and then read like a code, and then sent back to you as signals that is equal to the vibration that you're sending out with your voice. Okay, last week we talked about the glimmers, right? We talked about how important it is to look for the things that are positive in your life. So we want to apply this to our voice, how we can use our voice to speak positivity, to speak compassion, and to speak love. Because what you are vocalizing, what you are expressing through your voice and your actions is creating that vibration out into the world. And the world is reading it, and it's saying, let's send that same vibration back to that person. So if you're expressing love and compassion and you're sending that out into the world goes, okay, that's what we're going to send back.
One of the interesting things that I come across, and that I came across in a book by Caroline Myss, right? Not Carolina, Caroline Myss, right, Rose?
Yes, that's right.
She has a book called Anatomy of the Spirit, and she talks about the throat chakra being part of people's struggle with choice. And the throat chakra having a lot to do with faith, and it being your ability to release your will to divine guidance. So having either faith in the divine or faith in our fears. And I think this is a crossroads that we see a lot in not only Reiki, but in card readings, people struggling with choice, right? We see that a lot.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So I loved how she puts that in there. You know, it's having faith, and recognizing our fears. I was driving the other day, and the car in front of me had a bumper sticker that said, "Fear is a lie." And I was like, wow, that's brutal and direct, but that really is often true. Fear is a lie. And how many fears do we feed to ourselves? How many fears does our brain tell us that we have? And how does that suppress our expression and suppress us from taking action, be it physical action or spoken action?
Well, and that's something that's very typical of sensitive people or empathic people, is we like to hold our words back because we can feel that ripple effect that you were talking about, Candace. We can absolutely feel the impact that our words have. And so we're very, very careful about using our words, and we tend to not use them just to play it safe. I know that's been a pattern of mine for years and years, is just to hold my thoughts and my words back, to the point of where throat chakra is all about speaking your truth. I didn't even know what my truth was.
Mhm.
And as an empath, you're picking up everybody else's energies and you're listening to their words. You're soaking it in like a sponge. And because everything is so jumbled inside of you, it's hard to know what your own truth is. And for me, the very first step to opening up my throat chakra wasn't really speaking, it was actually just thinking.
Mhm.
And I would just start in different situations thinking, what is my truth? Not what do I, and as empaths, I can see lots of different perspectives and I can listen to somebody speak their truth and I can be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I can feel the truth in their vibration of their words. But it's like starting to actually focus in just for a moment in different situations and ask, what is my truth? And without even speaking it, just starting to have those words in my head to start thinking about it. So that was the first step for me to start working on opening my throat chakra. What are some ways that you guys have helped your throat chakras to heal?
Singing.
So, do you sing in front of other people? Do you sing by yourself? Do you sing along with the radio? Do you sing songs that
Oh,
you know, or all of
all
the
of it.
above?
All of the above. Yeah.
And how do you think that's helped your throat chakra?
Well, I'll tell you a little story. I was, before I really knew you guys, I was on my way to a Reiki appointment. Ashley was going to be doing it. And I, for some reason, just sang my heart out the whole way there in the car. And when after my appointment, you told me how wide open my throat chakra was. And I'm like, well, it had to have been the singing.
Had
So,
to have been.
mhm.
Well, because singing is expression and the
Yeah.
voice desires to be expressed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So when you're singing, you're connecting to the emotions maybe that need to be expressed
Yes.
or to the desires that need to be expressed. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense why it would kind of ignite that throat chakra and open it up for you.
Mhm.
I think there's something interesting to that because like in the morning time, I find if I'm running on the treadmill and singing like out loud the songs that are on, I do feel so much better and so expressive and open. And so it's not even about like speaking words from myself, but even just speaking the vibration and the feeling of the song, right? It's so powerful.
Mine is always so much deeper and darker when I talk about my healing journey. But for my throat chakra has always been an issue. And I don't know that I ever was given the opportunity to have an open throat chakra as a child and to express myself, to express my needs, my desires, my emotions, my pain, my happiness. I felt like I was very closed down as a child. And that makes sense why I struggle so much with TMJ and jaw pain. And for
Can you
me,
expand upon that though? Because like what's your jaw doing then, right?
it's contracting, like
Yeah.
very tense. So I would wake up in the middle of the night with my jaw clenched so tightly that I would have to wake up in the middle of the night with awful headaches because of the tension in my jaw to massage my jaw to relax it enough to open. Now, I don't struggle the same way that I used to. This was probably 5 years ago that it was that bad, but I still struggle today with it. It still locks. Just this morning, I was messing around in the car on the way home trying to get my jaw to unlock and align in proper place.
Oh man.
And I think I'm going to be always healing in a way from that. And I believe even in my astrology, it says that communication is the thing that I'm going to struggle with this lifetime. It's going to be one of those things that's going to be a challenge for me. One of the ways that I was able to open up my throat chakra is by sharing the things that I was holding back. It was by actually speaking.
Mhm.
And it didn't matter if it was to actually somebody that I was looking at, or a friend, or a family member, or my husband. I had to just express it, even if it was for myself in a journal, being able to write out what is it that I feel a lot of shame and guilt about that I'm not allowing myself to see or sharing. That's eating me alive, and that's keeping my jaw shut and closed. And then what is it that I want or desire in my life that I'm not willing to allow myself to have? It's just like opening up that whole can of worms of getting to know what it is that I needed, I wanted, and where I was feeling shame, so I can sift through those things. And that, I think, by itself really started to help me open up my throat chakra. And I've been practicing that for a long time now.
Yeah, it takes practice for sure. I don't remember if I was telling you guys this or if it was someone else, but like a lot of anxiety comes from suppressing the self. And what I think is crazy is a lot of that comes from not being given the space to develop your own sense of self as a child. So not only is it affecting that throat chakra, but it's also creating so much anxiety that blocks us from doing what you're talking about, Candace, from practicing that self-expression. So it's like a double block, right? Not fair. Not fair.
So I came across an interesting thought about the throat chakra as I was researching for this. And this is in Cyndi Dale's chakra book. And she talked about the throat chakra is right smack dab between the mind and the heart. The best way to be using the throat chakra is when you are balanced between using your mind and your heart.
Mhm.
And so I think about our society right now and the fact that we are very mind focused. Things have to be logical. And that's kind of what tends to dominate what we feel comfortable sharing. But I think we're moving towards more of a heart centered place, at least some of us are. But you don't want to be all heart either. So, the very best thing to really support that chakra is to also focus on balancing how you're using your mind and your heart together to make those choices and decisions and decide what you want to speak and put out into the world.
I heard not too long ago, like if you look at the earth is green, like the heart.
Mhm.
The sky is blue, like the throat. And then above that is indigo, like the mind, like the third
Mhm.
eye. So that is so reflected in our environment, right? Like having that grounded heart chakra balance with the balance of the divine connection and then tying it all together in the throat. How crazy is that?
Mhm.
Like it's in our world. It's like this is just how we are meant to function. This is how we live.
It seems really obvious, doesn't it?
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's right there. It's right there. We look at it every single day, but yet it's so easy to get off balance and to forget the importance of that.
So, what are some ways that you might use your throat chakra in a negative way?
Gossip.
Using your voice to gain power over people or communities, to manipulate, using your voice as a weapon rather than speaking words of love and compassion and kindness or truth. You're expressing out of fear by trying to manipulate or control.
Also, just simply staying silent. That's a huge disservice to yourself and to other people, right?
Yeah, I think that's how I got my block, is because I was so silent. I had all these feelings and I did want to talk to someone and I did make an appointment to go talk to them. And I was so uncomfortable when I went there. I didn't say anything. And then that's when all my issues with my jaw started. So it makes sense.
I do find this to be the most common thing that I see when people are not willing, because of fear, to express themselves, express their true desires, express their true feelings, express what they're really thinking. And I do find that in many people who have practiced that for a long time of suppressing their voice and not speaking, they are resentful because they're constantly picking up the baggage of other people or the responsibilities or the obligations and putting it all on their own plate. And they're not expressing their needs of needing help or needing to delegate tasks. That's immediately like disassociating from your self-expression, your own. I feel like the throat chakra is really a power chakra. And it's linked, if you look at human design, your throat chakra, every single chakra in the diagram in your body graph is linked to the throat chakra because your throat is meant to express from all different chakras. They're direct links, both upper chakras down to the throat, lower chakras up to the throat. And we are meant to express from wherever our human design says. Like Rose, for instance, you've got instant communication with your emotions. So expressing through your emotions is going to be really important for you. And for me, expressing through the mind and the way I think is one of my strongest channels. But my point is I don't know what my point is. So
Well, I mean, it is such a power center, right? You're saying like everything is connected to that. And as like we said in the beginning, like God created everything from the word. However, I feel like somehow we always get back to like programming, but I do think it's something we have to address. So like the title of our podcast is talking about the siren. And I think there's a dark side to the siren in that the siren was using its beautiful magnetic voice, and society demonized that, saying that if you listened to it, you would die. Right?
mm-hmm.
I mean, what kind of programming is that? It's suppressing the voice because it is so powerful. It is creation.
If you think about history in general, American history or just world history, the voice has always been suppressed. And it has not always been safe to express your authentic self or to express your needs or desires because it meant harm or your safety was threatened. So I literally just had a session with someone recently where we kind of stumbled upon a past life, and it was about choice for this person, about two crossroads of where to go. And it all led back to the voice chakra or the throat chakra. And we stumbled upon her past life where it was like, once upon a time, it was not safe for you to express your needs and desires. And you're still holding on to the energy of that from a past life. And where now it's safer for you to express. So I think that we could be pulling from like our own history in America, our own world history, coming from genetics as well. If you're thinking about epigenetics, about our ancestors not feeling safe to express or, things of that nature. And then our own past lives where this has been a problem. It has not always been safe for us to use our voice to express. And I think for now, even in many countries and in many people's situations and families, even, it's not always safe. And especially as children, because there's a lot of pushback when you use your voice, when you use it in a way to stand up for yourself, when you use it as activism.
And I know a lot of empaths don't like conflict, myself included. And we think that by using that voice, a lot of times we're inviting in conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard as well.
I thought about this yesterday. I was at a restaurant, and I'm definitely not one who wants to make a big stink about things. I'm so understanding about the restaurant industry, especially because my husband's family has run a restaurant for so long. But I received my food, and my food had mold in it.
No, mold?
Yeah, it sure did. It did. Yeah. And I kind of pushed my plate aside, and I was like, you know what? When the waitress comes over, I'll just gently tell her that I found mold in my food. I didn't want to eat it. And my sister-in-law saw this, and she's one who's going to express her voice. I kind of admire her for this in a way, because I'm so like, no, I'll do it in such a quiet way. I'll be very polite because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make people feel uncomfortable or create conflict. And she was like, nope. She took the plate right up to the hostess, made a big stink about it. And I got my food for free, but still, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, am I, by not expressing my voice, by not being more like she is, am I suppressing my throat chakra? Is that an unhealthy way for me to use it? Was that a healthy way to use it? And it just got me thinking, just like how I use my voice and how I can use it to stand up for myself.
You both had the same goal.
It was the same goal,
but you just had a different approach. I don't think there was anything wrong with that.
Yeah, which approach would be the one that would make you be most true to yourself?
Definitely the route I was gonna
go. Yeah, I think you always want to be true to yourself and how you're using your voice.
It just got me thinking about how I can exercise my voice a little bit better. And not be afraid of conflict, because that's the thing, right? If we're suppressing our voice, if we are acting out of fear, if we're making choices out of fear. So if I wasn't maybe afraid to, but I honestly don't know if it would have said anything, because I didn't get the opportunity. I didn't get the opportunity though.
I don't know. You pushed your whole plate away. I don't know.
But I've been in situations before where I was like, that's okay. I got the short end of the stick. I'm not happy with the way things turned out, but I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to be quiet. So how can I use my voice to stand up for myself and just not act out of fear, but be a little bit more in control of it, I guess.
Practice.
I do think it's interesting, though, that right now we're in a time where we have a lot more opportunities to share our voice. For example, all of us are empaths doing a podcast every week, which is talking and sharing our stories and sharing our truth. And even though social media has its, good points and bad points, it certainly is a vehicle for a lot of people to speak their truth. So it feels like almost like we're being pushed to begin speaking our truth. And maybe like right now, social media is kind of a hot mess because we're so out of practice. We're still kind of figuring it out. I don't know. I don't know. Just makes me think about that.
Yeah. And maybe because now with social media, everyone has an outlet to be heard. This is something we haven't touched on yet, but I don't think we have. But I also think a lot of the throat chakra is feeling heard. And I don't think a lot of people feel heard. And then opposite of that just kind of go hand in hand. How are we listening? Are we showing up to listen and to receive what people have to say? I think that's all a part of the throat chakra. Do you agree?
Yes. And a lot of times when somebody's speaking, we're busy thinking of how we're going to respond rather than really listening to what they have to say. I know I've been guilty of that.
Oh, yeah. And where does that come from? What do you think?
I think it's partially fear of I want to be prepared with the right response. I think it's also partially self-centeredness, that we are more focused on ourselves than others. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, I think there's balance to be had in that area. But yeah, and it's also fear of how I'm going to be perceived.
Yeah.
I want to say the right thing. Also, I want to say the right thing, just like you said, Ashley, so I can be heard too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, right?
Yes, it's like so many times I've been in conversations with people where one person is dominating the conversation, and I don't feel like I even have the opportunity to share my experience or my thoughts on the topic. And it's almost like I'm a dumping ground and just receiving everything that they want to share. And so that can be very disempowering as well.
I was going to say, what did you come across in the Caroline Myss book?
It was almost exactly the same thing you said.
Oh, okay.
I do think it's really interesting though that the throat chakra is the place of willpower. It's the place where you actually express yourself. And the idea is that you are expressing yourself with your words, but there's other things that you communicate that are also forms of expression. For example, body language is another huge way we communicate with each other. And I feel like that is definitely something that is activated through the throat chakra. Your actions are words as well, a lot more subtle, but they definitely demonstrate who you are in a different way. Um, and the thing that I thought was interesting as well is that when you get to the point where you have enough faith to trust the divine to guide you, um, you can actually receive guidance through your throat chakra. And that was one thing I found in the Cyndi Dale book is that if your throat chakra is fully open, the back side of the chakra will be like a receiver for guidance from spirit. So it's like when you fully surrender to, I'm just going to follow my divine guidance and do exactly what they're telling me to do, then all of a sudden that communication can open up and you can receive more guidance. But that is something that's hard to do, to completely surrender. I struggle with that. Candace, you were so right when you talked about how complicated this chakra is, even though the idea, speak your truth, is fairly simple and communicate. There's a lot going on there.
I remember when I first was going through my, I don't even think it was a spiritual awakening yet. It was just like more awareness of who I was, just, self-awareness. I kept hearing the term, it like blew up and it was everywhere. Express your truth, speak your truth. And I would roll my eyes. I was like, this is the lamest thing I've ever heard. What does that even mean? And I wonder how many listeners are probably going, oh, speak your truth. Here it is again, and not understanding it. It truly is something that you have to experience for yourself and surrender to that experience and exercise your own voice before you start to realize, oh, that's what that means. Because it is so complicated. We're trying to translate a very complicated expression of the voice and the power of the voice into one simple phrase or one simple conversation. And it's not simple. The voice is not simple. The power that your voice holds and the ripple effect it has on your life and the lives of others, it's not simple. It's complicated.
So for those who are listening that may have blocked or what's what I'm looking for? Blocked chakra. Unbalanced. Yeah, unbalanced. How would we what would we suggest for like nourishing throat chakra? What would you guys suggest? Reiki's always good. That worked for me.
Reiki is always
Singing.
good. Singing, speaking and thinking loving, kind things, especially using affirmations that begin with I speak, blah, 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 or I hear, blah, 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 I listen, blah, 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 retraining that brain to say loving things, think loving things, receive loving things.
I think also working on the heart chakra, like we said, learning to love yourself so that way you can actually say kind things to yourself.
100%.
Because yeah, that's hard to do.
Oh, you make such a good point. I was earlier talking about how all roads lead to the throat. Well, if we're not caring for the other chakras, we're not taking care of those other centers, how can we express from those centers? That's a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, dialing it all the way back to that root chakra, you don't feel safe to express yourself. I mean, that's kind of where you have to start, right? So maybe assess the other chakras going up and what chakra is blocking that expression. So if it's the root, that's safety, and kind of go up from there.
I feel like I've been, over the last several years, slowly working through each chakra and learning how to express through that chakra. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, damn, I'm really learning to express from my sacral chakra.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, what have I worked on already? I was like, oh, I've worked on a lot of my own personal power. And then, the solar plexus. And I've worked on feeling really safe and secure in my environment and in my family and in my workspace. So I feel like I've done a lot of work in those two areas. And the sacral center has always been an issue for me. And I've been definitely dominating in that area lately, I feel like.
Yay.
That's a hard one too.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of the 4 gateways of speech? No. It's an ancient Sufi mystic tradition, and Sufism is a mystical form of Islam. And they tell you there's these 4 gateways that when you're talking to someone, you should answer yes to all these 4 questions before you actually say it. And if the answer is yes to all 4 questions, then go ahead and say it. And the first question you ask yourself is it true? Second one is it necessary? Is it beneficial? And the last one's my favorite. Is it kind? And if you could say yes to all those, go ahead and say it. And I have been working on this since I found this. And it's like every morning I wake up, I'm like, gung ho, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work really hard on this. And then at the night when I review my day, I'm like, damn it, I forgot all about it. But maybe I just didn't have the opportunity to use it. But I think that's really important, not only for speaking to other people, but yourself. Because there's so many ways or so many things that I've told myself that were not kind or beneficial or necessary or true. So
I love that. A way to kind of filter, why am I speaking? Why?
Oh, you know what else we haven't talked about in helping the throat chakra? Talk therapy. I mean, therapy, but sometimes people have to process verbally through the throat. And so if you do feel really stuck in that throat chakra, talk therapy is a really good opportunity for that.
What about crystals or color for the throat chakra? Or
blue,
even
anything blue.
Blue.
I brought lots of blue with me today.
I forgot.
I should have had blue.
I know.
One too.
I forgot all about it. I was going to wear blue.
Yeah, because the throat chakra is the color of blue. So everyone knows. That's why blue crystals, wearing blue, surrounding yourself in blue.
Wear a necklace with blue on it because it's real close to your throat chakra.
Yeah.
Okay. So the crystals: turquoise, aquamarine, lapis lazuli, celestite. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Some of the yoga poses are baby cobra, camel, plow, fish, and cat cow. Herbal teas: slippery elm bark, herbs, sage and chamomile, essential oils: peppermint, basil, geranium, bergamot.
Do you guys notice how like my knees have been up this entire time, blocking my lower chakras? We were speaking about body language earlier, and I was like, oh my God, this me.
Why do you think that is?
Because this is an uncomfortable conversation for me.
I'm like, she feels safe this way.
Yep.
You're protecting yourself.
I am protecting myself. And that's why every time I've spoken, I've been like, I don't know what I'm saying.
I've had the feeling of nervousness every time I've spoken up. I'm just
still working through that root or that, well, probably that too, but the throat chakra. Yeah.
One saying that I really like about the throat chakra that I try and remember for myself is that the throat chakra should be a filter, not a container,
Yes.
Mhm.
so that we filter what we're going to say, um, but we find a way to express it. So, something that I always advise my clients that have closed throat chakras to do is find ways to express themselves. And maybe they're not ready to just speak their truth out to everybody right away. Maybe we need to build them up with baby steps. So, my advice is, let's say you're in a situation and you're feeling angry by something that happened or something that somebody said, but you're not comfortable yet putting yourself out there and speaking your truth. So, you're holding those words in and they kind of get stuck in that throat chakra and they kind of gunk it all up. So, what I would advise is find a way to express your truth at some time in the near future. So let's say you're in a room and somebody makes you angry. You go out to your car to drive home. As you're driving home, say exactly what you would want to say in that situation
Mm.
out loud in the car when nobody's there to hear it. So now we're releasing those words and we're giving them an outlet. Now, is that the perfect way to use your throat chakra? Probably not. But is that a baby step in the right direction? Absolutely. And then are you holding all that negative energy in? No, you're letting it out, you're expressing it.
Mhm.
Journaling is another great way. I know Candace, you already said that, but if you've got feelings or emotions or words that you're holding back, writing them down. And, if you're angry about it, rip up the paper, crumple the paper, burn the paper, do some kind of act, kind of help release that energy. And it's
Mhm.
interesting when you start doing that on a regular basis, before you know it, you actually start speaking your truth in situations.
And
Because,
And
you're
much
used
more
to it.
clear about it too.
yeah, it's like you're starting to open up that channel just a little bit. And eventually, you're actually going to start using it as it's intended to.
Yeah.
So you can totally work with the throat chakra, even if it's closed, by starting to just acknowledge your truth and expressing it in whatever way you can until you're ready to speak it in the situation.
It does work because I would typically, if my husband and I would argue, I would just, say everything that I wanted to say. And it always sounded so messed up and in the
Unclear.
wrong order and clear. And I would stumble over my words and I just wasn't clear.
Hmm.
And then I started writing things down or thinking about them after the fact and getting all those thoughts clear. Like I would write him a letter. I wouldn't always give it to him, but I would write him a letter. And then after that, when we would have arguments, I would think, and then I could actually speak better, more clearly, and make more sense. So it does work.
Yeah,
Baby
it's like you're
steps.
building a muscle.
Mm-hmm. God. Yes.
I was just thinking back to when I was practicing using my throat chakra for the first time, and it actually started with setting boundaries with people. That was
hard.
so incredibly difficult. And I
Uh-huh.
remember the shame that came with setting very small boundaries with people. I would cry. I would call you, Jennifer, and cry like I just set this boundary with this person. It was a completely necessary boundary, but that if you want to go that route, you can definitely just jump right in. But it does. It takes time to build trust with yourself and expressing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest definitely starting small before you get to those bigger things. But I find that boundaries is a huge reason why people shut down that throat chakra, is because they're like, I don't need boundaries, or I don't have boundaries, or I don't even know myself enough to know what boundaries I need to set. And
Right.
so
Or is it fair for me to set those boundaries?
Mhm.
I think too, if you're someone who has a lot of shame and guilt over things that you say, even if they were super valid and okay things to share, um, or if you're someone who feels like you just kind of like word vomit a lot of stuff like all at once and kind of like tangent or even sort of like spiraled complainy type things, don't forget the incredible power of a pause. You know, a lot of conversations happen so fast these days. We don't have room for pause, and we don't have room to think. And so even Rose, in talking about thinking while someone's talking, part of that could be because our conversations are too fast. You know, having a moment to pause and ground yourself, connect through the heart, think about what you're going to say and how you want to say it, that could eliminate a lot of that grief and shame and guilt, and a lot of the fear in using your throat chakra at all. So it's okay to have pauses in conversations, or to take a minute to think and breathe before you say something. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Pauses are super uncomfortable. I don't like them, but oftentimes they make things a lot easier and better in the long run.
And I would teach this through coaching too, people who were so quick to respond and say yes to things, which is a boundary problem, to practice that pause, even if you're counting to yourself, 1, 2, 3, to take a second to really gather how you're feeling or what the true answer is for you before expressing that, instead of jumping to the first answer that you usually say, but being honest with yourself real quick in that pause to respond thoughtfully.
And that's using those lower chakras too, where we know ourselves and where else we make decisions from. It's getting to know those lower chakras. So in that pause, we can feel what's right for us and what's not right for us. It's hard stuff, you guys. We're not perfect. There's no such thing as being perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed our conversation on the throat chakra today. And we just want to remind everyone that if you've been listening to this and feeling like your throat chakra is closed or unbalanced, I just want to remind you that that's not a bad thing. It's just a reaction to what you're going through or what you've been through. So it's just a sign that maybe that throat chakra needs a little bit of attention, a little bit of love. But just know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. A closed or unbalanced chakra is not bad. It's not bad. I always tell people that, a chakra is just like this. If I were to blow into your eye, directly into your eye, what would you do? You would blink. It's a reaction to me blowing in your eye. The chakras are the same. They go through something, they get a little unbalanced. They go through something, they close. But we can open them right back up. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. We're out here living life. It happens. So anyway, I do hope you enjoyed our conversation. We love chatting with you. And now we are going to segue into our mystic moments, where today we're going to be talking to an animal friend. So I hope you enjoy this as well. All right, everybody, welcome to Mystic Moments. This week we are reading an animal, and we drew a name out of a hat from our Facebook posts and our Instagram posts. And the winner this week is Christine with her beautiful cat, Miss Nesbitt. And just so everyone knows, sweet Miss Nesbitt has passed. So she is coming through, and we're going to read a little bit about her, and then some messages for Christine and her time that she spent with her here on Earth. So let's get into it.
Okay, well, I'm pretty new at this. So as soon as I saw her picture, I think Sunday morning, she was calling out to me, I guess. because I picked up on her right away. And that is not typical for me. And I was very confident that this was the animal we were going to read or that wanted to get read. I picked up yesterday that she just loves her mama, Christine, so much, like to the point that she adores her. And I just got this tremendous love for her. And also the fact that she was sorry for leaving Christine. She didn't want to leave her when she did. And so she was sorry about that. She just adored you. That's pretty much all I got.
That's
Very
sweet.
short and sweet.
Yeah. So it's funny, when I started tapping into Myss Nesbitt, I saw like kitty life as if she were still around. I saw her snuggling up on a female's lap, which I can only assume must be Christine. I could see the kitty kind of walking in between legs. So she really enjoyed the feeling of being cuddled and held, very cuddly, playful. And then I started seeing some things that were a little odd to me. I started seeing a horse, and like the horse would not go away. I don't know what it is about this horse or what the horse has to do with any of this. But white horses just kept showing up over and over and over again, and it wouldn't stop. And I wasn't getting clear answers on why that horse was appearing. So this could have something to do with something that's going on in her life, Christine's life, or a memory even of a horse. So I thought that was interesting. And then I got a complete block. There was no more information coming through, and it felt very distant. So this could mean a couple of things. This could mean it's been a long time since this kitty has passed. It could also mean that Christine is feeling like she's not getting that spiritual connection with her cat anymore. And that could be where that distance or disconnection feeling may be coming from. And then I wasn't getting anything after that block came up.
Yeah. That's interesting, because out of all of the animals that were submitted, I set the intention, for an animal to come through, and Myss Nesbitt was the one that popped up. But also she felt here, but very distant. And so she too was showing me like rubbing against Christine, like against her legs, like cats do, right? And an overwhelming amount of love pouring forth for Christine. I want Christine to know that Myss Nesbitt feels very, very peaceful. Immediately when she came through, I was getting some upper stomach issues going on, and something maybe with the esophagus or even possibly the throat area. So sometimes when animals or people come through, they'll immediately show me some of the physical things that they experienced, either prominently in their life or right up to when they passed. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, Christine. But she does feel very peaceful now. And then she was showing me Christine with some nice tight shoulders. And she wanted you to know, that's when she showed me her rubbing against your legs. She wants you to know she's very much here with you. So you can kind of drop that tension. And also, I don't know if that is related to maybe your throat chakra at all, because we had talked about that earlier. So maybe that's why Myss Nesbitt is wanting to be on this podcast specifically. Maybe there are some messages from earlier that she wants you to hear. Myss Nesbitt just felt very quiet. She was showing me these little purple, I think they were violets. So maybe look into the meaning of violets, or if that already means something to you, awesome. And then she kept referencing stars over and over again. So, Christine, whatever that means to you is the meaning of that, whether Myss Nesbitt kind of looked off into the stars a lot, or if you now look into the stars and think of her. She just kept referencing something very important about stars. Now, this is also very random. she referenced this 2 separate times. And the first time it was just kind of blipped in there. It was the very strong smell of like what I think is a hot dog. It came in and out so briefly. And then at the very end, I asked, is there anything you want to tell Christine? And I got that hot dog smell again. So not saying it's necessarily hot dogs, but that's what it smells like to me. So I don't know what she's referencing, but it smells to me like hot dogs. And I don't know why she wants you to know something about that, but I hope that makes sense to you. I asked her what her favorite thing about living with you was, and she said one of her favorite things was snow, and she kept referencing snow. Now, I don't know what that means, but I do feel like she feels very peaceful like snow. She's obviously white like snow. I don't know if that was maybe a nickname or again, if she just sat by a window and loved watching the snow. But she did reference snow. And then, oh yeah, down here I wrote, she wants to tell Christine about the snow and how beautiful and peaceful it is. So anyway, she feels like that. She feels like that peaceful, gentle falling snow. Okay, and then last but not least, she showed me like sitting in the kitchen looking up at you, and you were very like gracefully cooking, very peaceful in your moment, cooking like an old family recipe. And I feel like this is perhaps something you've not done in a while. Now, sometimes when things come in, how do I describe this? Like I see something that relates to a memory of mine that will like trigger what's needed to say, that what the cat wants me to say, or sometimes it's important to you, Christine. So I'm going to tell you what you were cooking, but again, it could just be reminding me of an old recipe, so that way we got across that it was a family recipe, or it could be a food that's specific to you and your family. It was like a brothy sort of like dumpling something, very warm, very like comforting. So that's what you were making. And I do feel like maybe this is something you haven't done in a while. And again, like your cat just wants you to like embrace these like peaceful moments. I think that was such a big, strong message of hers, like gentle, peaceful, relaxing, cozy, warm. And yeah, she loves you so much. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. I connected with Miss Nesbitt, and the first thing that she showed me is she showed me that she was playing in the grass. I could just see the long grass blades, and I could see like little animals hiding in the grass, and she was chasing them and she was pouncing them, and she just seemed very, very happy. And then the scene shifted, and I saw her drinking water from a pond, and it was like the water was fresh, the water was alive, it was invigorating. And so I believe that those two messages really were very much about her being in a happy place where she gets to do things that she loves to do. The next scene that I saw was her having other cats to play with, other cats to live with. And so it felt like she was in community. So I think all of those messages together were just, I'm in a great place. I'm getting to do things that I love to do. I'm not alone, and all is well in my world. And then I asked her about Christine, and I love that everybody got the message of how much she loved Christine, because I got that message too. The first thing that I saw is I saw Miss Nesbitt's face, and if you think of cartoons where they have the hearts flowing out of the eyes, that's what I saw. I saw all of these pink and red hearts flowing out of Miss Nesbitt's eyes and going right into Christine. So I loved that image. It was really easy to understand. Um, And then she said some words. I heard, I am still with you, playing with you, loving you, napping on you. I never really left. So that made me really, really happy to know that she is still around. Um, then I got a message of during her lifetime, there was another animal that annoyed her. So I didn't see what the animal was, but did you get that too, Candace?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I don't know, there was another animal in her life that just annoyed her. She didn't even show me what it was, but I could just feel the irritation. So that made me laugh. Then I got an image of a kitty ball and toys. I think she just really loved playing. And then at that point, um, she was done. So it was kind of like that block that you talked about, Candace. The next image she showed me was her just walking away. I mean, it was like she turned around, she's like, I'm done, that's it. And she had that total kitty personality, which just made me laugh. So I think there's a lot of similarities between our messages, which is really interesting.
Well, Christine, I hope you enjoyed that message. Please email us or message us on Facebook or Instagram and let us know your thoughts. And we are going to be doing more of these. Thank you all so much for sending in your animals. You guys have such beautiful animals, such good questions, and they really pulled at our heartstrings. So we will be getting to a lot more of those in the future.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much again for listening. And if you are interested in getting your pet read and having a full reading, we do offer on the Sanctuary website pet communications and pet Reiki as well. So you can book that at www.sanctuaryreikicenter.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at awakening_souls_podcast. Or you can, of course, email us at rourawakeningsouls@gmail.com. All right.